We had to go in that mall and the lady just got shot.
What caused her to die?
There was a single gunshot wound. The victim had no identifying information on their person.
The vehicle is the crime scene.
We scoured the streets to find this car because without it, I had no evidence.
You felt armed with the knowledge that fingerprints don't lie.
The fingerprints aren't going to lie.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's Crime Exposé takes us to Duluth, Georgia, a quiet suburb of Atlanta. This tight-knit community became the unlikely setting for a disturbing mystery when a mother of three was shot at point-blank range inside her own car. As detectives launched an intense investigation to find the gunman, they had no idea of the twisted path that would unfold on their journey to justice. It was July 18th and a humid summer night when numerous panic calls came into the police department.
911. We had to go in that mall and the lady just got shot. She's on a tree laying down.
Is she breathing, conscious and alert?
Yeah, she's moving to live.
They reported that it was an individual that was shot just outside the bus depot.
When the first responder arrived on the scene, it was clear the situation was critical.
He observed the victim laying in a small pool of blood. He noticed blood coming from her left breast area.
Was the victim still alive?
She was trying to moan something to him, but he couldn't understand what she was saying.
The victim was immediately rushed to the hospital. While doctors worked to try and save her life, detectives questioned the traumatized crowd which had gathered. So could anybody tell you what happened?
The bus driver, who was basically sitting probably about 20 to 30 feet away from where the incident occurred, and she had observed a gold-colored vehicle backed into a parking space. She's heard shouting. Then she observed a male get out of the passenger side, walk around to the driver's side, and then heard a single gunshot.
The gunman then pulled the victim from the car and sped away. The bus driver saw the crime happening right in front of her?
Correct. She was the key witness.
And she was able to provide a detailed description of the killer.
She described a black male who was wearing white but with green over top.
Based on the eyewitness account, it seemed possible that the killer had been someone the victim knew.
Perhaps it was a domestic-related incident that maybe started somewhere else and then carried over to that location.
It was then police received a heart-wrenching call from the hospital. The victim had not survived. What caused her to die?
There was a single gunshot wound that perforated her lung, her heart, her liver.
Detectives focused on finding her identity.
The victim had no identifying information on their person, so the next choice I had was to reach out to our dispatch operators and put out basically a lookout for anybody who calls in a missing person, for not just our jurisdiction, but neighboring jurisdictions.
6 hours later, someone called about a missing person, and the details revealed the victim's identity. What was her name?
Genai Coleman.
The tragedy of the murder deepened when police learned how the 40-year-old mother of three had spent her last hours alive.
I know the time she dropped off her daughter at work was approximately 5:30 that evening. I know she was communicating on her laptop in her car on a religious website with a friend of hers up until about 5 minutes before the shooting happened. So I had a good timeline of the events of her for that day.
Officers fanned out to find surveillance footage from nearby stores.
The incident location is a bus stop that's adjacent to a mall and a couple strip mall. I scoured multiple locations and inquired if different stores near the crime scene had surveillance video. I don't want to miss a clue. I'm looking for evidence.
Because without a break, they had nothing to push the investigation forward.
I did not have a lot to work with because the vehicle is the crime scene and it was missing.
A statewide all-points bulletin was sent out to locate her car. it was all hands on deck to put Genai Coleman's killer behind bars. Did you think the cigarette belonged to the killer?
That's 100% what I'm hoping.
40-year-old Genai Coleman had been gunned down in her own car, and detectives looked closely at her background to see if the killer had been someone she knew.
Miss Coleman was a school teacher. She was a military service member. She went to church. She didn't have a boyfriend. There was no type of domestic issue she had. She didn't create enemies, didn't put herself in harm's way.
So who did you think murdered Genai?
So it led us to start believing that the person who committed this crime was a stranger rather than a known party to her. Maybe this is a robbery or a carjacking that's gone wrong. Which made locating Genai's car even more critical. We scoured the streets to find this car because without it, I had no evidence. That vehicle was my crime scene.
Within the hour, they found Genai's car. It had been abandoned in a parking lot about 40 miles from where she had been shot.
It was parked in a parking stall, just haphazardly in between two spots.
Crime scene analysts examined the vehicle and were impressed by how pristine Genai had kept it.
Her car was really clean. There was no excess of trash or random items that you may generally find in somebody's vehicle,
which gave them confidence that anything they found would be crucial to their case. As you're searching the car for fingerprints, what did you find?
I found fingerprints on the exterior driver's door and mainly on top of the driver's door to where somebody is leaning over the window and putting their hands on top of the hood.
The prints did not belong to Genai or anyone in her family. Did you believe those prints belonged to the killer?
There was no doubt in my mind that was the killer's fingerprints that was left behind.
So now what became the challenge?
The challenge then was to figure out who they belonged to.
Forensic specialists located another promising clue.
I noticed that underneath the driver's seat was a used cigarette butt.
The cigarette was a Bronson Light Long. Was Genai a smoker?
Absolutely not. Nobody was even allowed to be in the vehicle who smoked.
Did you think the cigarette belonged to the killer?
I was 100% hoping.
The prints and cigarette were transported to the lab for testing. Meanwhile, investigators have been scrolling through hours of surveillance videos from nearby stores, searching for a lead.
I spent several hours going through lots and lots of surveillance video, kind of looking for a needle in a haystack.
Security cameras from the convenience store across from the crime scene had captured a man walking in at 8:40 p.m., about 20 minutes before Genai had been shot. As you watched that video, what stood out to you?
He's wearing a white shirt with green sleeves.
Which was exactly what the eyewitness reported the killer had been wearing, and the videotape documented the man's movements inside the store.
The guy comes in and he orders some alcoholic drinks, beers, has a little conversation with the clerk, and then he comes back in and he orders a pack of cigarettes. And you can hear him, and he says something light longs, and I must have played it 100 times, but eventually I slowed it down enough to hear him say Bronson Light Longs.
Bronson Light Longs. Longs?
When you realized it was Bronson Light Longs he had purchased, what went through your mind?
That was my needle in a haystack. A Bronson Light Long matches the cigarette butt that was recovered from underneath the driver's seat of Miss Coleman's vehicle.
The man left the store just minutes before Genai was murdered.
He leaves the store at about 8:40, 8:42. The murder happens probably around 8:53.
Investigators immediately released his image to the media, hoping someone would recognize him.
So now I knew I had a picture and video of my suspect. I just didn't know who he was.
Have you ever met this woman before?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever seen this vehicle before or been in it?
No, I have not.
You could tell that he was giving me some truths and then he was also lying.
Detectives investigating Genai Coleman's murder believe surveillance cameras had captured an image of her killer at a store just moments before the crime. His picture was quickly released to the media. Did you get any promising tips?
No, we didn't get any good tips that would lead us to identifying who the male in the video was.
How frustrating was that?
It's extremely frustrating because at this point in time, I've got video, I've got fingerprints, and I've got a cigarette butt. So I have a ton of evidence, except I don't know who it belongs to.
Now you're just at a standstill. There's really nothing else that you can do or rely on until you get some type of answers or results back.
As time went by, the case slowly started growing cold. But when the lab called with their results, the investigation instantly started heating up.
They're like, hey, look, we got a DNA CODIS match on this case.
The national database had found a match to the DNA found on the cigarette butt left inside Genai's car.
I'm immediately like, I'm stoked. You know, hey, great, now the case is moving forward. We might have somebody who matches this. Who's this person?
He was 50-year-old Donald Smith, and when they pulled his mugshot, it looked shockingly similar to the man recorded on the surveillance video from the night of Genai's murder. At what point did you feel like you were closing in on Genai's killer?
I was 100% charging confidently that we were on the right path. I knew that this was the right person.
So now we actually have a name to go by, and now the ball can start rolling again.
Detectives found a cell phone number for Donald Smith and then cross-checked it against cell tower records from the crime scene and the area where Genai's car had been abandoned. Smith's phone had been active at both locations. It was a critical clue.
Very, very important because it put the cell phone number that he utilized in the area of the murder during the time of the murder and in the area of where the vehicle was dumped at the time frame the vehicle was dumped. So some of the background information I started learning about him also assisted in this case.
Donald Smith seemed to be on edge when he was brought into the interrogation room.
I would like you to just explain to me why I'm here.
Okay.
During questioning, Donald Smith insisted he was not the person in the surveillance footage and had nothing to do with the crime.
He initially stated he didn't know anything, and so I showed him the surveillance video from the convenience store.
That is definitely not me. I don't have a shirt like that. I don't can't even see the face on that person, but that's not me.
Okay. So that's not you.
No, definitely not me.
I showed him the victim's photo. He said he didn't recognize the victim. I showed him the victim's vehicle. He said he didn't recognize the victim's vehial.
Have you ever met this woman before in your life?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever seen this vehicle before or been in it?
No, I have not.
So you must have thought he was lying to you.
And you could tell that he was giving me some truths and then he was also lying.
Detectives confronted him with the DNA evidence they had against him.
That vehicle you said you've never seen before, and the woman you've never seen before,
Yes.
okay? Your DNA ended up in that car.
That's interesting because my DNA couldn't have been in that car because I've never been in that car.
Okay.
He agreed to take a polygraph, and when he failed, it seemed to rattle him. Did you believe at that point he was about to confess?
He says, I wasn't being truthful with you. And I'm like, okay, about what? And he says, I do recognize the person on that video. I said, I know you've got to recognize that person. And he goes, but it's not me. He goes, it's my identical twin brother.
That is my twin. All I'm saying is that wasn't me in the video, that's him in the video.
And he says, the reason I was lying to you is because I didn't want to implicate him and I didn't want to come to believe that my brother could do something like this. So now we're at a point where, okay, now, is it your twin brother or are you just pushing it off on your twin brother and trying to not take responsibility?
It was a bombshell. Donald had an identical twin brother named Ronald. And since identical twins had the same DNA profile, detectives wondered if he was trying to pin the murder on his twin. But they were confident the fingerprints found on Genai's car would reveal the truth.
Fingerprints are different in everyone because those are formed in the womb. So I'm immediately thinking, all right, we're going to get a search warrant. We'll get your fingerprints and we'll compare them to the ones we have on file.
You felt armed with the knowledge that fingerprints don't lie.
The fingerprints aren't going to lie to me.
While detectives fanned out to bring Ronald Smith into custody, they showed the surveillance video to the twins' family members.
Get two teams to go to two separate locations. One team goes, speaks with his mother and father. The other team goes, speaks with his sister. And they show them the video. And they say, hey, look, we know they're identical twins. Which one do you recognize on this video? And so they watch the surveillance video. They see the mannerisms. They can hear the voice. They can see the body language. And when they do, mother and father say, that's my son, Ronald, not Donald. And so we go to the sister, and she says the same thing.
They located Ronald Smith and compared his prints to the evidence in the case. What were the results?
Ronald Smith's fingerprints were identical, matched to the fingerprints that were left behind on the exterior of the vehicle and the interior of the vehicle.
When law enforcement brought him into the station, they noted the brand of cigarettes he had in his possession.
He did have a pack of Bronson Light Longs.
And that wasn't all. Ronald had in his possession the cell phone detectives had connected to Genai's killer. Were you convinced you finally had Genai's killer in custody?
I mean, that's it. I've got the DNA from the vehicle. I've got a cigarette butt, which is the exact same type of cigarette that Ronald smokes. I've got his fingerprints matching not only points inside the vehicle, but outside the vehicle. We knew at that point in time that was our killer.
Detectives confronted Ronald with the mountain of evidence they had against him.
You could just tell he was defeated by that mountain of evidence. And he just said he needed a bit of time. And then he goes and smokes a cigarette, and he came back in, and the first words out of his mouth to me and the other detective were guilty. I mean, he started off with guilty. And then he broke down exactly what occurred.
Ronald said when he approached Genai's vehicle and tried to force her out at gunpoint, she tried to reason with him.
He said she stalled. She started telling him that she was a religious person. He had details that she was in the military. Nobody else knew that. He told us details of the caliber of the gun.
He said he intended to steal her car, but instead stole her life.
I did not mean to shoot the woman. It was a hair trigger. The woman didn't deserve this.
The man who had taken Genai's life, as well as all her hopes and dreams, was finally behind bars.
You always want closure on every case, but knowing the type of person she was and how good and sweet her family are, I wanted to solve the case for them.
When Ronald Smith was tried for Genai Coleman's murder, he reversed his statement to detectives and tried to point the blame on his twin brother. However, it was clear to the jurors that fingerprints don't lie. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison plus 25 years. And now it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. Genai Coleman, a beloved teacher and devoted young mother, was tragically murdered by an armed robber. And while we cannot foresee when a crime may occur, we can take proactive measures to improve our safety. Situational awareness is a critical tool that helps us make informed decisions in emergencies. When alone in public, stay vigilant and avoid distractions such as being on the phone or listening to music. If you sense a potential threat, take immediate steps to relocate to a safer environment. Trust your gut if something feels off or if you sense a threat. Act on your intuition to avoid or prepare for a potential confrontation. And if you are violently confronted, your priority should be to escape, not to engage in a physical altercation. Put as much distance between yourself and the attacker as possible, and if you can, consider carrying a personal alarm that can emit a loud sound to attract attention and deter an attacker. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.